We are finally seeing the daily chart be able to close above the 9-day moving average, but we were aware that this is the perfect level for some resistance to come in, as we can use that lower expected move as resistance. When we get below it, we come up and tag it. Hey, that can become resistance now. So today there was one thing that I was paying attention to, and that was volatility, saying that there is an 85% chance today or tomorrow to see a down day in the SPY, and we did not get that down day today, which means we need to pay close attention to tomorrow. And not only that, but there's some other things that are making me think that this thing smells just a little bit fishy going into tomorrow, but it might be dependent on that morning data. So let's get into it. First of all, a big shout out and thank you to the 130 people that came over, and we had a very successful live show for our all-day stream. We are still doing the live show in the mornings, but we do have that link down there in the description for Rumble if you want to join us for the continuation of that stream over on Rumble. Just a quick switch over, and we watch stocks all day. But let's just hop right into the stock market. You can join that right now. Just go hit that follow button and you can join us. We'll mention it again tomorrow live on YouTube. Something that we want to be aware of. Remember when we were talking last week about the 30-minute trap, and it's a good thing that we were aware of that 30-minute trap being able to form that divergence. At this point, it is very difficult to come down and take out this low with the signals that we do have, but we do notice we left behind this gap, and that always means there's some unfinished business that is possible. So as we read into this, we were talking about this in the past where we could see that 2-hour get some kind of move to the upside and then see that curl back down to go create something a little bit more drastic. Maybe it's a higher low, maybe it is some kind of 2-hour divergence, but we noticed that would have to take us outside of these weekly expected moves. And I just wanted to talk about how this 30-minute is just going up and up and up, and the 30-minute is not leaning towards that. So even though we talked about all those ways that this could fail and we need to be aware of it, the most probable thing going into tomorrow is we are going to see some kind of 30-minute pullback, and weirdly enough, maybe some squeeze. But it would be very weird to squeeze right now because we still get important data tomorrow. And then it would be like everyone's ignoring the FOMC. And that is very interesting if people are really just guessing what the FOMC is going to do. Usually you do see some rip around kind of behavior in those FOMC weeks. So we will want to be paying attention to it. And that's why this move is overall just a little bit fishy to me. But we'll notice from the positioning of the MACD, we are really leaning towards that. As of right now, the MACD is showing at higher levels. It would suggest that a pullback would be a very likely thing, and this will make more sense as we go into volatility. This will be a slightly shortened video as I streamed all day and I need some time with family, so we're going to go over the SPY and the Qs, get you guys daily expected moves, and go over volatility. We do notice that 30-minute pullback, where would we head to? Well, the whole point of all of this mess, all of this failure right here to curl back up and then confirming down at these levels to take back what? The 5-day moving average. This is something different. We can notice that on this way down, we really have rarely seen, except for one moment, and that had a quick failure, this be able to try to take back the 5, and now we're getting that moment right now. We're still aware the 2-hour can cross, but the 30-minute most probable thing is to turn down, and we have a level to pay attention to for you. That level to the upside being 572.59 to the upside and 561.71 to the downside. So if we don't see something crazy and you don't have lower implied volatility than yesterday, it's very, very similar to today. So we don't really think anything seriously unexpected would come, but a 30-minute pullback would be nice to head to the upside, and look where that upside daily expected move takes you. It is finally getting back inside the monthly expected move, which I think is fantastic. But more price action is going to be important. Data is going to be important, as tomorrow we do get the building permits preliminary and the housing starts and some more Japanese data after hours right before we go into the Fed interest rate. So isn't it interesting that we are seeing this kind of on a little bit light volume, but really just we're seeing this, and it would be very weird to squeeze during this week through all of that data. I know we see things coming out with Ukraine and Putin and all that good stuff, but it still would be very strange for markets to just completely ignore the Fed and just see this thing squeeze to the upside. So we will be paying attention to if we get that 30-minute pullback, or if it's a little bit more drastic. What we're looking for is that 30-minute to get down by the center line and curl back up into positive territory. Maybe we get that test of the 5, and that would be fantastic for us to actually head higher as we go back and test this area. That was very, very important, right? We see how it was resistance, 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 trying to be resistance, but we consolidate, break through. Now we might have that opportunity to use that as support to head in the upward direction. correction, and this looks like the most probable thing going into tomorrow, and that's why this move is overall fishy. I will expect some back and forth before we do get that FOMC, which after the FOMC on Thursday, Friday, maybe we actually see the inclinations of some kind of squeeze. Just to remind you once again, this is not the most probable thing, but it still can happen. The 30-minute is pretty positive. We're going to go over that in a second, but just be aware that the 2-hour is not positive yet. So this could curl down, and we left that gap down at these lows. And if you look where this weekly expected move is, it would be the perfect place to make a divergence. I'm not leaning towards that. I think this double bottom looks pretty good. Maybe we just need to pull back on the shorter time frame in order to keep this 2-hour going into positive territory. So looking at the 30-minute, we have some levels to pay attention to. First things first, though, this is a fantastic thing for the Qs to be able to go back into the monthly expected move. Now we can use that level as support, and we can easily see on the shorter time, right, the micro behavior that could happen to really break us down to lower levels. So we want to be aware of that. But as of right now, your MACD is really showing, hey, this is an upward move. We're pretty high up there on the MACD, so it would take a lot of work to go negative. It's still possible, and that's why I'd watch for that 2-hour 2 cross down. But this 30-minute most likely will just be some kind of curl down to actually turn back up into positive territory. Once again, if we do squeeze because of data or some kind of news, I do see that as a little bit fishy, as we do have a ton of data this week, and we do have a very important FOMC interest rate decision where they could hint that they are going to do some kind of cut, as we saw retail sales today come in extremely lower in a revision from negative 0.9 last month down to negative 1.2. So some big deals there. So some daily expected moves, 488.93 to the upside. We have 476.61 to the downside. Almost the monthly and the daily expected move are creating this little zone. So I'm going to pay close attention to this zone during the live show that is in the morning on YouTube. And after YouTube, we switch right over to Rumble. It only takes me like 2 to 5 minutes to switch over. A lot of people showed up there, and I thank you, and everyone telling me their experience was overall a good one. But this is the most probable thing that I see going on into tomorrow. We'll have to see if that actually plays out, and we will be paying attention to that with you in the morning, because if this crosses down, yeah, I would say pull back so we don't have to treat it that seriously. But if a 2-hour starts to cross down, we want to be aware that this could always become a more tricky thing. It could always become more and more complex as we have left a gap behind. I think it would be very interesting to leave a gap behind up here, go fill this one, and then see us start to turn back around with a solid 2-hour divergence that actually shows up on your MACD and RSI at the same time for the Qs. This is what we said we were going to pay attention to for the VIX, and the VIX can be a good hint of what is going to happen in the overall SPY. And now we are not seeing the same signals at the same time. I want to be very clear about this. Volatility is only showing you the 30-minute divergence. The SPY is not, and that's why I think it is very unlikely for the SPY to go down and go all the way past that low. But just because it's unlikely doesn't mean it can't happen. We still see that those weekly expected moves are within range of that 2-hour going down to them and making sense, right? It is still in our 68% zone, so we need to pay attention. You will notice that this actually confirmed at the end of the day for volatility. This 30-minute divergence did confirm. Was it a good confirmation though? No, it was not. It was rather flaggy on a little 5-minute chart. So this will be interesting to see. Is volatility calling something here? Because it was up by more than 10% on Friday, which means that, yeah, actually today we had an 85% chance for a down day, but with those great reversal signals, great move. We even saw the put call ratios today, or we actually saw the put levels, and we just used this in order to find that 570 during the live show over on YouTube, and after that Rumble. We did notice that if we looked at the data from today, we did see that level of 570 with a big amount of open interest there, and we did notice that it was the area where we actually started to pull back from. Maybe some profit taking, maybe not. We'll have to find out. We'll see here as this 30-minute divergence did pop up. We'll see if this is able to curl up a 2-hour. What is the 2-hour looking like? And this is why I think that the SPY going down to those lower levels would be less likely, but still possible. So what we're noticing is super deep on the MACD, super deep on the RSI, and a 30-minute divergence. So if we get that bounce from the level of about 20, we can see that reaction to go up towards 24, and then we will look for if that is going to subside back into negative territory by the end of the day. This would be a very interesting thing to see going into tomorrow. Maybe it has more work to be done. Maybe we can see a bigger reaction here, and that is why if this 2-hour curls up, we still want to treat this very seriously and understand that the market can go and be more complex. It can always go be more complex. That daily chart has not confirmed yet, but these are the main things I'm paying attention to for volatility. Volatility, there is one more thing that I wanted to point out here, and that's the daily chart. The daily chart has successfully curled down on the daily MACD and the RSI, everything right here. And this is fantastic because now we're seeing great confirmation that we could have a bottom, and any kind of bounce in volatility here, meaning a downward move from the SPY, should be pullbacks from this point forward. But we'll always pay attention to risk because we know that the stock market can do what the stock market wants to do, and it's our job to react. So let's just do that, trade like water, and make sure we're managing our risk, because there's no stopping this thing if it wants to curl down on a 2-hour from cutting that low. And let's show off that 2-hour when we talk about the main takeaway. I mean, look, we were talking about the 30-minute around this area. Hey, this is the first point where this could become more complex. Now you're seeing a 2-hour move. Hey, this is the area where that can become more complex. If this curls down on the MACD, we need to treat it very seriously, and I think that's the main takeaway. But also the main takeaway is going into tomorrow, this would suggest that the 30-minute pullback is more likely, but we've seen this market do crazy things over the last couple of months. So let's just keep our head on a swivel and make sure we're trading like water. Thank you guys so much for joining over on Rumble. You guys made it a fantastic experience for my day. I really do appreciate it. If you would like to join and you're watching the end of this video, thank you for watching the whole video. I know it's a little bit shorter one. Normally we do it longer, but because we're talking about so many individual stocks during the live show, during market hours on Rumble and YouTube in the morning, we need to just give myself a little time to take a break and spend time with family. So I do appreciate you guys showing up to that live show and getting that information. Thank you guys so much. If you're looking at individual stocks, I'd really be looking at my plan for the next few days, looking at the 2-hour, see what it looks like, looking at the 30-minute and seeing if it looks like it more so would be asking for a pullback. So thank you guys. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you bright and early in the morning on YouTube. Peace out.